Alright guys, what's going on? I'm Tim Kelly. Thank you guys for checking out Section215.com, Philadelphia's premier sports site, a Philadelphia City sports blog. The Eagles season comes to a screeching halt as Shane Graham hits a field goal to give the Saints a 26-24 win in what was a close game. But as I predicted, first off, if you read my article this morning, I did think the Saints were going to win. I said 21-14, 26-24, so I wasn't far off, but I really wasn't that close either. And the first thing I want to say is that, and I said this before the game, that no matter how frustrated I was after the game, you need to be able to put things in perspective. And in perspective, the Eagles still have a very bright future. Nick Foles and the Eagles offense really as a whole was stone cold for that last drive, at least the last drive they had the ball, that they took the 24-23 lead. So that's an exciting sign. But I really feel like Chip Kelly dropped the ball tonight. First off, he got out-coached by Sean Payton because Sean Payton overcame two Drew Brees interceptions. He overcame Pierre Thomas being out to begin with. Jimmy Graham really didn't do all that much, but he got Mark Ingram going, which was kind of something I was scared of coming into the game. And, I mean, neither offense had great momentum, but when it came down to it, the Saints got it done at the end of the game. I think that Chip Kelly, first off, should have kicked that field goal in the first quarter because it would have been a completely different score, and they would have had to score a touchdown at the end of the game. Now, the one that I'm talking about is the one where LaShawn McCoy ultimately on 4th and 1 he pushed forward, but then Nick Foles took a sack and they got pushed out of Alex Henry's field goal range, which isn't far, by the way. He should be gone after this season. I've seen enough of Alex Henry. But regardless, they got pushed out of his range, and I know people are going to say, oh, well, hindsight's 20/20. I bet you weren't saying that when they got the 4th down. I was. I mean, look at my Twitter account, because it wasn't like it was a 4th and goal on the 1-yard line, which we had last week and didn't convert it, but that's another story. It was a 4th and 1 on, like, the 20. So even if you get that, you're not really guaranteed a touchdown. In a cold game where points appear to be at a premium early on, you need to take whatever points you can get, and Chip Kelly should have just kicked the field goal early on. Late in the game, he made some other mistakes. He burned a timeout instead of just taking a 5-yard delay, a game penalty, which would have been more productive than burning a timeout and not having it at the end. He burned a second timeout before the 2-minute warning, which they would have been better off just letting the clock run to the 2-minute warning. That stops it, and then you would still have 2 timeouts. Now, it might not have mattered because defensively, the Eagles' defensive line just kind of got pushed over at the end of this game, and the Saints were able to run the clock out. But knowing that you have 2 timeouts left, maybe that changes something in your head. And even if that didn't happen, Chip Kelly still played it wrong, and that's frustrating. I think for all the good that Chip Kelly brought to the Eagles this season, and I can't say enough about how good of a job Chip Kelly did for this team, there's certainly some things he needs to work on, and they're eerily similar to Andy Reid. Now, it's not running the ball. That's the one positive, is that we will always get the ball run, but it's the throwing on 4th down, which they didn't do tonight, but they did certainly do it during the season. It's the bad challenges, or not challenging at the right time, or not challenging when you should challenge. And I think tonight it was the inability to use your timeouts and waste them, which we saw Andy Reid do earlier on, which was kind of ironic if you're an Eagles fan, but not so ironic now that Chip Kelly ended up doing a pretty similar thing later on. I'm not singularly blaming Chip Kelly. A lot of this season we talked about how the Eagles' defense, they could bend, but they didn't break. They need to get to a point where they don't bend as much as they did, because even when you're bending, you're allowing teams to get field goals, chip away at you, and then at the end of the game, they are breaking. The floodgates are opening. They would get huge leads, and teams would score a lot on them in the 4th quarter. The Cardinals did it. The Redskins did it. And then we also saw this tonight where late in the game, the defensive line they didn't have much left, and that's ultimately what happened. I think the biggest thing is that it's just frustrating. I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll still realize that Chip Kelly's a very good head coach. I'm excited about the future of this team. And really, this is way further than I ever had them going, and most people in Philadelphia ever had them going. They're coming off a 4-12 season. You get the point. But when you're in this situation and you are so close to winning, you're a hot team, and you feel like there's a very winnable opponent next week in Carolina had they won, it's so frustrating. It's frustrating because this would have been such a big win for the city of Philadelphia that's really been down in sports for the last 2 or 3 seasons now. After a good period in around 2007 to 2009, they've really had some down seasons, and this would have been great for that. And quite frankly, I've seen it all. I've seen the Rondé Barber interception. I've seen the Panthers come in here and win 13-3. I saw the Eagles' inability to have any sense of urgency in the Super Bowl when they were down by, it was a 2-possession game. I've seen Rod Wood pull down Kevin Curtis, which should have been a pass interference, and they never called it in the 2008 NFC title game. I've seen the Dream Team. I've seen the second year of the Dream Team go down in flames. And I saw this year, which was a very exciting, one of the most fun times I've ever had in football, which excites me for the future. It's just unfortunate that it had to come to a conclusion so early in the playoffs. I'm Tim Kelly. Check me out on Twitter, TimKelly_215, and Facebook.com. Go there, like The Real Sports Talk, and then at SEC215, SEC215 for Section 215's Twitter. Just because the Eagles are over, the Eagles coverage A does not stop. We'll have all coverage tonight, tomorrow, and I'm sure throughout the entire offseason, because as my co-editor Summers Price pointed out, the Eagles are back on top in Philadelphia, and then we also do switch gears a bit to the Sixers, the Flyers, the Phillies, and even the Union, and maybe even some college basketball. So thank you guys for checking out Section 215 throughout this entire Eagles season, and if you're new, keep checking it out through the offseason, through the Phillies season, Flyers, Sixers, because next year when it comes down to football, if the Eagles can make a few adjustments this offseason, they could be a team that could be really dangerous in the playoffs. Good first year, frustrating start. I'll catch you guys next time.